We are at Yeshiva University's museum, standing outside of one of the most fascinating exhibits. What's the name of the exhibit?
The Golden Path, Maimonides Across 8 Centuries.
The Golden, I tried to remember it, but I didn't. The Golden Path, Maimonides Across 8 Centuries at the Yeshiva University Museum. A fascinating overview of the life, legacy, and impact of the Rambam, otherwise known, aka Maimonides. And we're standing here with the curator. What's your title on this?
I'm a guest curator.
The guest curator, our friend, Dr. David Sclar. Thank you so much, number one, for taking the time to do this. This is an incredible exhibit. Tell me, how did this come about? Did you have all this stuff? This was hanging out in your basement?
If only. So it goes back about 15 years. When I moved to New York, I was working for a number of years in the special collections of the Jewish Theological Seminary, a library there. This is the greatest Judaica collection that's ever been assembled. I know you did a video there.
Yeah, yes.
While I was there, I was cataloging material, working with scholars, and also co-curated exhibitions with Sharon Lieberman-Mintz, who you know. At some point, Sharon works a lot with collectors, and at some point she told me that there was a collector in Chicago by the name of Bob Hartman, who is singularly focused on Maimonides manuscripts and rare books, and he wanted somebody to write about his material. And she knew that I could do that because we'd worked on exhibitions before. And I started doing one by one, sort of piecemeal. And over a number of years, I became the curator of his collection. The core of the exhibition is his collection. What happened was that after, over about a 10-year period, I'd written nearly 200 pages. And I said to him, is he ready to do an exhibition and we could publish the catalog? And he wasn't ready, but right the summer before the pandemic, he reached out and said he thought he was ready. And we went back to Sharon and thought about the YU Museum, and there were various discussions, and ultimately it was decided that it could be here.
And YU was like the perfect home for something like this.
Absolutely. And then about 2 years ago, a bit more, Gabe Goldstein came on, who previously had been a curator here at the YU Museum and then was consultant at various institutions, and he came on as a project director. And he said to me that we could make this big, which meant the Hartman family collection is the single most impressive collection at all of Maimonides manuscripts and early printing or rare printing. But he said, what if we were to go for manuscripts that are just fantastic, illuminated manuscripts, autographs of Maimonides, those sort of things. And we did. And we had lots of institutions that responded wonderfully. So we have material from the Bodleian Libraries in Oxford, we have material from the JTS Library, from the Royal Danish Library in Copenhagen, from HUC, Hebrew Union College. I'm missing National Library of Israel.
And it's all here at the Yeshiva University Museum. Can we go check it out?
Absolutely.
Let's go check it out. Our series, Show and Tell, will take you inside some of the great libraries, both public and private, to explore books and treasures from Jewish history. My question is, you know, you had this core collection from Hartman. How did you know who had what from all the other Maimonides, Rambam related stuff out there?
When you're in the profession, you know what is where, you know who, you have contacts anyway, you know what to do. The piece that we start with actually is partly owned by Yeshiva University Museum. The other partner is the Walters Museum in Baltimore, this wonderful art museum in Baltimore.
So why
so
start here?
Well, the piece is a no-brainer, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Why we wanted this to open the exhibition is because it is literally a door. It's a Torah arc door. It opens. It has at the top a line that says
Pischuli Sharei. Is that Tzedek?
Yes, Pischuli Sharei Tzedek.
Yeah.
So here we are entering into the gates of righteousness. The idea of openness is that we're going through on this path, and this is an elevated path. We're not talking about physically like a path that we're walking, although there's that element as well, because the entire exhibition covers, it's Maimonides Across 8 Centuries. It's geographically expansive and temporally, but we're also speaking about something higher, intellectually, spiritually. So this, to me, was a no-brainer to start the exhibition.
Because where is this from?
Okay, so the piece itself is about 1,000 years old, if not older. It is a Torah ark door from the Ben Ezra synagogue in Fustat. Fustat is in Egypt. It is now what is considered to be Old Cairo. Cairo was a city that was in fact founded after Fustat. And the reason it's particularly relevant is because Maimonides lived the last 3.5 decades in Fustat. This is an ark door, a Torah ark door, that he would have known of, would have seen.
Could have been inside of this synagogue.
Would have been inside the synagogue, or whatever the earliest version of the synagogue was, and would have known this and seen this. The reason it's particularly important is because beyond its ancient status, and just the fact that it's beautifully done and that we still have this and it's preserved, is that the Ben Ezra synagogue is more famous for being the home of what's famously known as the Cairo Geniza. Geniza being a repository of items, usually with God's name on it, that would not ordinarily be destroyed out
Thrown
of
in the garbage.
Exactly, out of
preserved
respect, but instead would be buried, sometimes
in a
referred
respectful
to as
way.
Exactly, sometimes would be referred to as Shemot or Shemus, and would go and be buried in a cemetery. There was an Islamic practice to not in fact bury, but sometimes just preserve in an attic or in various buildings. And in this particular case, the Jewish community for centuries did just that. They preserved, or they kept these things in an attic and ultimately in walls of the synagogue.
And that famous Cairo Geniza was from this synagogue.
Yes, and this is one and the same.
Wow.
Now,
and why is the Cairo Geniza connected to the Rambam specifically, aside from the fact that it was his shul?
Because we have documents from Maimonides in his own handwriting with his signature that were discovered in the Cairo Geniza.
Do we have those documents here?
We do.
Let's check some out.